What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be going over the ultimate fantasy football draft guide for 2025. We're going to go over the essential tips, then we're going to go over the best strategy this year, and I'm going to give you guys a mock draft in the early, late, and the middle of the draft, and I'm going to go over gems, sleepers, and guys I wouldn't draft. Let's start off with some essential tips, okay? You got to do these things because drafting, it's not about having some perfect thing no one's ever thought of and taking all these crazy sleepers. It's really about not messing it up and making sure that you optimize it to the best of your ability with the players that you like. So, really important thing, be flexible, okay? I have a pretty flexible strategy that I employ that I'm going to show you all about in these drafts, and with that, you should be very solid, but you don't want to lock yourself into a strategy. If a really good player falls to you, take them. Don't overthink it, okay? If you take a running back in round 1 and you wanted a wide receiver in round 2, but you have the first pick and then Devon Achane gets to you. You take him, okay? You don't need to be locked into one strategy. You always want to be looking for values. Number 2, do not use the ADP of whatever draft site you're using. This is maybe the biggest tip, because on Sleeper, for example, that's what I did my mock drafts on. You're going to see a bunch of guys that I have 1, 2, maybe even 3 times. Like someone like Travis Hunter, who's really undervalued. Maybe like Ricky Pearsall. Some guys that are going to be pushed way down, especially some of these rookies, end up being pushed down on on Sleeper, on Yahoo, on ESPN. So each year, I would say some of these rookies end up being really undervalued, like Ted McMillan, Emeka Buka, all these type of guys. So for using your ADP, you want to be looking at either Underdog. They have good ADP by position because of how the money works, but you can also just go to Fantasy Pros and look up their real-time ADP. That's going to give you a better ADP maybe overall for the draft. But either way, if you have a minute or higher pick clock, or you're doing it on computer, definitely want to split screen and have that other ADP up so you can be actually using that one, because these site-based ADPs are not very accurate, especially once you get into the mid-rounds, and you can get some crazy values that actually might even seem like reaches on the draft app. So that's a pretty big one. Also, second most important thing is league specifics, okay? If you are in a league that starts with the most common setup is 1 QB, 1 tight end, 2 running back, 2 receiver, and 1 flex, okay? If you're in these type of leagues, QBs and tight ends become more valuable than their supposed ADP, because your quarterback is going to make up, let's say they're scoring 20 points a game. That might be, a sixth or maybe even a fifth of your total points each week. Whereas if you're playing in a league that has 3 receivers and 2 flexes, right? The more flexes you have, the more valuable wide receivers and running backs get, and the less valuable quarterbacks get. Another example, if you have more than that basic starting 7 and it's half PPR or non-PPR, you need to be taking so many running backs, because in full PPR, you can kind of have a wide receiver or a running back in your flex. Usually you're going to have a receiver just because usually the running backs go a little bit earlier in that same range, but if you're in if you're in a non-PPR league, you need to be getting a running back in your flex. They're going to be pushed way up the board. And then half PPR, it's like a little bit of a mix, but running backs are going to be a little more valuable. Also, I was in a league that had a 6 passing point per quarterback, like passing touchdown. You need to check that, because if that's true, Josh Allen should be going round 2. Burrow should be going round 3. Daniels, Lamar, Hurts, all these guys should be going way higher. Mayfield and Mahomes especially. But Mayfield, you want to push way up your board. And, someone like Justin Fields, you probably don't even want to take. Just take someone like Jared Goff or something. But the guys that are going to get a bunch of passing touchdowns become so valuable. You need a good QB in these leagues. And if you're in half or non-PPR, tight ends become a little more valuable just because they're usually less important in the more PPR leagues. But another thing, kickers, defense always should be your last 2 rounds no matter what. Taking a defense, if I were going to take one this year, I'd probably take Denver, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter. There's essentially no correlation with ADP and defense and kicker performance. Just take a guy that you like, or a defense that you like, or just pick randomly. It really doesn't matter much. Or get a guy that's projected for a high week 1. You just stream defenses and kicker, it's so random. Okay, just take whatever the app recommends. It doesn't really matter. Or take guys that you like. Okay, now those are all the basics. So that's league specifics. Know your league. Know your scoring format. Know how many people are starting and at each position. And then use Underdog or use Fantasy Pros ADP. Those are the 2 most important things, and be flexible. Now, let's get to the number 1 strategy in all fantasy. This is what I've used in all my drafts, and I think I've had very consistent good teams. In fantasy, you're not going to absolutely you're not going to win every league by a mile every time. It's just about getting a really good team with no flaws, and you're going to win more on average. So, we're looking here at this, and we're going to mix in, I'll give you some examples here. The strategy is you're going hero, running back, and wide receiver, and you're trying to get an early QB. What this means, in your first 2 rounds, you want to try to get running back and receiver. It does not matter which round you get which one in. I see stuff saying, oh, the first overall pick's doomed. That is just stupid. It's just luck, right? It's not a curse. Take Jamar Chase first overall. That's what I would do. You can take a running back first round, wide receiver second round, whatever you want. But I would try to get one of each. That's kind of the goal. But as you see here, where I was drafting with a second overall pick, Jonathan Taylor, Ladd McConkey ended up going before Jonathan Taylor, which I don't usually see. And I would have much rather had Jonathan Taylor than Bucky Irving. So I ended up going Taylor and Jigba rather than like Tyreek Hill and Irving, because I like that combo more. Well, really, I saw Taylor, and I thought he was such a good value. So this is an example where you can deviate off that a little bit, because the hero running back, hero receiver strategy, you really need one of each by round 3. If you don't have that, you're going to be in a little bit of a rough spot where if you have 2 running backs, and I took, let's say, a quarterback in the 3rd round, then I would have been in a spot where I would have had to hammer wide receivers the next 3 or 4 picks in a row, and that could have handicapped my team a little bit if there weren't good guys available. Again, if there's a crazy value, if Josh Allen falls to you instead of JSN, I might have taken him. Maybe. Who knows, if Josh Jacobs was still there, maybe I would have taken him. But the general principle is you want to get one running back and one elite running back, one elite receiver. That's going to be able to anchor both of those positions, and then you should be able to fill out the rest of it. And also, I love early quarterback this year. Now, if you have a league where QBs go round 1, don't take a quarterback early. But if a Josh Allen or Lamar is available in the 3rd round, always take them. And if Daniels or Hurts is available in the 4th round, always take them. That's kind of a rule of thumb. And to be honest, if I'm in the end of the 3rd round, I also take Daniels or Hurts. Like, if my thing is, like, if there's a QB in the 3rd round, I'm probably going to take them unless it's, like, at the 2-3 turn and Allen and Lamar are already gone. I just find that getting these high upside, high floor QBs, they're going to end up contributing a lot more than, like, you might get 5 or 6 extra points, whereas if you're just changing around you get one better receiver, it's probably not going to add as much value. And these quarterbacks also just tend to be pretty consistent year to year. So that's generally the strategy. Now, if they all go early, it's totally fine. You can get other values. You can get Mahomes or Knicks or whoever else. But I also find that when you have these leagues that have only 1 flex and 2 running backs and 2 receivers, QBs are just very valuable because you can still get good starters. You can get a guy like Travis Hunter to be in your flex and Ricky Pearsall to be your backup and still have like a good team. And then, in this other spot, I had Hunter again in my flex and Olave and Tracy. And then on this other team, I had McMillan in my slot and along with Golden. Like, these guys, you're getting legit startable players. So you really wouldn't gain that much by getting another receiver or running back early. That's why I love taking early QB. Tight end, I think it does depend. Again, I generally favor earlier tight end because, again, you can just get startable guys pretty easily in the slot, whereas you might be getting 3 or 4 extra points per week if you get a better tight end. So I would say I don't really I don't think I've ever taken Bowers or McBride in any of my drafts that I've done or any of my mock drafts, just because I think they end up going a little too high, and I'd much rather have a QB in that range. But if they fall, go for it. And I like Hawkinson a lot. I'd say Hawkinson and Andrews are the guys that I gravitate towards in a lot of my drafts. And if I can't get them, it's whatever. But again, it's all about going, getting value in whatever draft you're in. But that is the most important strategy. Let's go over this first draft here. We took Saquon at the 2nd pick. Okay, again, first round, I think the ADP is pretty good. So I like taking Saquon there. And then we got Jonathan Taylor because he was a really good value. And then we took JSN. I thought he was all right. But then we come back around, and Evans was pretty clearly the best player, so I took him. And that means we have 2 of each. Now, we didn't get early QB this team. That's all right, okay? I didn't want to reach on Daniels and then be stuck, spamming wide receiver. I would have probably had to take Smith instead of Laporta and then taken, like, Andrews instead of Knicks. And I like this build a little bit more. But we end up making a really nice team where we have 2 strong running backs, 2 really strong receivers, good flex, and then we still get a good tight end and an all right QB. Okay, so and then also another thing is that if you're in these apps like ESPN or Sleeper, you are going to get good values down the board. Okay, these rookies, guys like Pearsall, I can look at Scatabo, Dobbins, Downs, Coleman, Higgins, by the way, he is tough. Get Jaden Higgins, okay? Ayuk. Like, you are talking about guys that you can legit put on a roster, and the difference between, like, a Scatterbo and, like, a Warren is just so little. The difference between Downs and, like, Jennings, or Downs and, Ibuka, that's maybe big, but Downs and, like, Deebo Samuel is really not that big. So you can afford to take these early one-of-one positions, like the special positions, QB and tight end, and you can get good value later. So that's kind of, it does depend. If you're in a really sweaty league, it might be a little harder to do that, but you should still be able to get pretty good guys. Again, the draft strategy does change. If you have a league with 2 or 3 flexes and then 3 or so receivers, then you might not want to take both. But if we look in this next draft here, I got CD here. I thought that was a good value at 6. Come back around and get Jonathan Taylor again. One of the players I really like in fantasy this year. If you go watch my best gems in all fantasy video, you can hear all about that. And my other 10 players that I absolutely love this year and I'm drafting in so many of my leagues. A lot of these guys are on here. And then we're able to get Daniels here. I love that early QB, and I'm just confident in being able to build the rest of the draft out. This trio here, getting running back and wide receiver, doesn't matter who, round 1, then the other one round 2, and then getting that QB is my favorite start, and you're gonna see why. You can see why with this team. Then we get Amari and Hampton here all the way in round 4, a really high ceiling guy. Could be the RB1 in fantasy. Could also be kind of a mid player, but I mean, taking a big shot here and getting another legit running back. Again, like rounds 4 through 7, you're going to be going a lot off who you like, okay? I'm not going to tell you have to draft all these exact players. It's much more about value and who's there, building your team out, okay? Then we get DJ Moore coming back around with Caleb Williams, getting that second receiver. We've got a really nice build so far. And then we're able to get Travis Hunter, very good player. Again, watch the Gems video. Olave, Tracy, Pearsall, and then I can just pick up a tight end in free agency and drop Bigsby. Pearsall, could be the wide receiver 1 for a team that likes to throw the ball a lot. Brock Purdy's been pretty good in fantasy and in real life, and he might be the wide receiver 1 for that team. I liked him in college, and Javonte Williams looks like he's the RB1 in Dallas right now. That's high potential there. Downs, he can be pretty good this year with Daniel Jones. And then moving on to Team 10, we got McCaffrey in the first round. Nico Collins in the second round is crazy. Oh my God, these are 2 first-round players right here. And we wrap back around and get Daniels too, a guy that I would have taken and literally did take earlier in this video in the middle of the 3rd round. Already 3 great values. And then we get Marv, like just an insane start to a draft. 2 really good receivers, great running back, great quarterback. Comes back around, we get Hawkinson, lock in our tight end. The last of the good tight ends really end up going there. And then we get McMillan in the slot. Just crazy values all around. Wrap back around, get Tracy to be that other starter. And then we're going to get Golden, who again, watch my Gems video. Might be in there. And then now we're just going to spam running back to really fill out that room so that we're hoping that at least one of these guys hits and can be a starter. Tracy should be the starter early on in the season. And then you're kind of hoping either maybe Charbonnet ends up being the starter for the Seahawks. Dobbins ends up being the guy. Or maybe Jaden Blue can capture that room. And we also get Keon Coleman just to fill out that receiver room. Just a great draft here. This is definitely my favorite. I think that you can literally be successful from anywhere in the draft. The whole point is you're going to take a good wide receiver and a good running back in those first 2, maybe 3 rounds, but really in the first 2 if you can. And then you're going to get a QB in round 3 if possible. And then just fill out your team, okay? Also, if you have... Let's say you have 3 running backs, and one of them is going to be in your flex, and you have 1 receiver. Don't take a 4th running back, okay? Make sure that all of your starters, or at least all your starters, make sure that you have your 5, flex players, like your 2 running backs, and 2 receivers, 1 flex, before you start drafting, other players. Just take your starters first, okay? Look for upside, right? I like getting late rookies. I think in a lot of these leagues, like ESPN, Sleeper, Yahoo, rookies are going to fall. So I definitely like that. And overall, just be flexible and dominate your drafts. Good luck.